Hello, listeners. This is Kat, and welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfics. This will be the continuation of Call Our Crimes a Work of Art. This will be Part 12, Chapters 25 and 26. Namuri stares at the screen in shock. How? Like, she knows after his opening stunt that Midoriya was playing this as unhinged as he can. First off, moving about in disguise is an amazing concept. Then his handling of the Big Three's bad Hallmark movie plot. The arranging to get the best value out of the murder for hires. It's amazing. And poor Nejiri. She was on the edge of her seat with everyone else when Ida had stopped him outside the bank, sure that one of his close friends would recognize his voice or his mannerisms. But Hisashi must have been teaching the kid all he knows, because Ida doesn't see it. And then he and Shota are running off through the city taking out literally everyone and getting more objectives. And that's still only in one day. And she has no idea about what this media storm is about. God. All right, everyone. Time to review the newest events, Nezu says. I'll start it off. I'm giving the villains some extra points, Snipe says. Oh? Kids got some audacity to go prancing through the sites of their destruction, helping to clean no less, Snipe says. Yes, I did think that was a mighty interesting strategy. He took out like 6 kids in the course of 2 hours. And managed to collect the rewards for 2 murders for hire. And hacked into a bank server. And the freezing of those accounts. It's only been 1 day and they have 34 points. Nezu twitches and shares a look with All Might. You have the task too high a point value, Vlad says. Did I? Or did the students do a poor job preventing acquisition? Nezu asks. Vlad pouts. All right, let's evaluate them so far, Snipe says. Let's start with the heroes first. Kirishima didn't offer condolences to any of the members of Class 1B, nor did he attempt to diffuse the tension between them and the 2 other members of Vlad's team. But he was correct in not sending exhausted heroes out on patrol and allowing them to rest. He also asked some Mentos questions, which is good. He can't volunteer extraneous information, but he can answer questions. Not giving Bakugo something to do was a mistake. Even a small task would have been better. I agree, he was the worst person to accidentally come across a trespasser. I'm scared about what her involvement means for Media Storm because she is one of my business students, Namuri says. Yeah, I have a bad feeling if there's a plan with its own unique name, Snipe says. I think Kirishima handled the interview well. However, I also think he didn't ask her enough questions. Even the civilians have jobs in the city. They didn't even try to find out her job. But he was polite enough to her, and he fixed the problems that the breach created. Now on to the night patrols. He made the best out of a bad situation, but he shouldn't have sent out one-man teams for a night patrol. These kids haven't been taught night patrol yet, at least not very late night. Aizawa is going to have their hides, Snipe adds. Putting Uraraka on the case to locate a receptionist was a smart decision. She's on bed rest because of her quirk exhaustion. She needs to take it easy. But he also acknowledged how annoying that could be, especially for Uraraka, who's shown herself to be incredibly competitive, Yagi adds. So giving her something to do will help combat that. They nod. Bakugo's handling of the intruder left much to be desired, and I can't help but think it's going to bite them in the ass. And Ida's constant interrogation of people who are just out living life, they're going to be upset by being constantly questioned. I think it was cleverly orchestrated by Midoriya. Somehow he chose the perfect person to pickpocket. I definitely think the night of sleep and not being in emergency mode definitely helped them gather themselves, Vlad says. Now let's move on to the villain team. Those disguises were amazing. And they allowed him to walk around the city without being recognized, even when Ida stopped him. And he was completely stone-faced as he was interrogated by Ida as well. He was terrifying, relaying their murder-for-hire options to Nejiri. And they kidnapped her in broad daylight. Not a single person noticed. And then he just calmly shot Mirio, and knew he had enough time to have Hatsume hack into the bank server, earning him even more points. Is he going for some sort of record? Perhaps. Well, tomorrow will certainly be interesting, Nezu says, as they prepare to sleep in shifts, so they don't miss anything. Chapter 26. Kirishima. Kirishima is pale as he watches the bodies of his friends and teammates being brought in. They killed 5 more people. How did they manage this and not get seen? God. Kirishima, The mayor's holding a memorial for Vlad King to honor a fallen hero. He has asked that a few of us attend, Kaminari says. Kirishima takes a breath. Right. I'll go with a few students from 1B. Bakugo and the rest of you guys should stick to your patrol schedules. Stick in teams of 4 and don't separate from your group. Pass that to the other teams. No unnecessary risks, Kirishima says. Of course, Kaminari says. Kirishima sighs. How did this get so unmanly? He doesn't know. Who knew Midoriya was hiding such a devious mind? He passes Uraraka on his way to gather some of the 1B students who he'll be going with. Hey, Kiri, we had a bunch of applicants for the position, Uraraka says. That's great. He can have Bakugo. Maybe not. Uraraka, can you interview them today? I know it's a lot of work, but... Of course I can, she says. Thank you so much. He heads off to let the others know the plan. Hatsume. Team Sharpshooter, come in. Rogue's voice comes through her earpiece. Artificer and Shadow Monk here. Rogue, go ahead. Once you take out your target, go ham. I want at least one other person dead. Any reason? Shadow Monk asks. Mayhem will make a few more missions easier. You got it, Rogue, Shadow Monk says. Are you all right to complete this mission? Hatsume asks. Yeah, kid. I've done harder on less sleep. Besides, I have a break after this mission. He won't need me for a while. Well, what about Operations Art Project and Watergate? Those aren't till tonight, and I'm on backup for those. Rogue is sending Paladin with Shadow Sorcerer. Okay, if you're sure. They get into position. Mimic, how's our secret weapon coming? We delivered the secret weapon to the location, equipped with surveillance, Mimic says. Okay, remember that place is going to get pretty busy in a few minutes, so get out of there. Yes, sir. Hatsume takes a breath and stares through her scope, lining up the shot. Whoever dressed up the robot that is supposed to act like the mayor is extremely obvious. Honestly, he looks like any mayor off a children's show. But luckily, that's not her target. Her scope glides over the mayor and focuses on the deputy mayor in the crowd. He's dressed down to avoid recognition, positioned in the front of the crowd with a few other important people. All of them are public officials, and there's not a single security team member near her target. Why would there be, when the mayor is on stage speaking? Shadow Monk is also peering through his sniper rifle, goggles over his eyes, and zoomed in on the crowd. Hatsume is so excited because he asked if she would sell the license to make her iBaby to Powerloader, or if not, would she be willing to let him keep them. A pro hero wanted her babies. She shakes herself and focuses back on the deputy mayor. They're aiming for 2 targets, if all goes well, and they have 2 dead public officials. If not, they should manage to at least get 1. Hopefully, they can also get Setsuna out of the game. Her speed with her quirk is out of this world, and it makes her harder to kill. Because even if they shoot a hand or an eye, she can regrow them because that's just her quirk. Because apparently things like basic biology go out the window when quirks are involved. Does she get therapy? Like, come on, regrowing limbs has to be traumatic. And that couldn't have been an easy quirk awakening. Hatsume almost cackles at the idea of a 4-year-old tripping and falling into pieces just to suddenly put herself back together again. Artificer, focus, Shadow Monk says. Hatsume shakes her head again and focuses. On 3, she says, and they take a breath and count. 1, 2, 3, they say, and pull the trigger. 2 paint splotches form on the backs of 2 different bots, one black and the other pink. They take a second in the panic to cock the guns, and Hatsume takes focus on Setsuna. Before her limbs can fly off, a bright spot of pink forms on her chest. She looks for another target. A scale lands on the side of a building near them. Is that scale shooter kid just blindly shooting his quirk at buildings? Maybe. She lets Shadow Monk deal with him. She scans the group for one more person. Ah, there she is. Kodai is dangerous, no telling what she could embiggen or how she would use that strategically. A wild card is the worst possible thing for them. Which means Hatsume only feels a little bad about the pink paint between the girl's eyes. A similar black splotch is in the stomach of the scale shooter, has them falling back. They took care of business and even took down 3 more heroes. Honestly, they're being a little cruel. They don't need to kill this many people. It had been the teacher's idea. Over a late-night meeting with Cups of Cocoa for All, back during practice week, Shadow Monk and Bard talked to them, told them they shouldn't hold back, should kill and kill dirty, because that's what villains do, and These kids all need to be prepared, because what if next time it isn't a fake villain with a paintball gun, but a real one? It had been a very somber moment for all of them, thinking about the attacks they had already been through, in addition to the ones they've yet to face and will face as heroes. And Hatsume may not be gunning for heroics, but her friends are. Her friends. The villain team, because that's who they are. They are all going to be heroes. Even Paladin, regardless of if he has to claw his way up through the 6-year apprenticeship process, or become a vigilante and use the Reformation program for that. And they will be fighting villains and saving lives, and Hatsume prefers her babies to people. But these people aren't so bad. So if she has to kill every one of those hero team kids to remind them all of their own mortality, she'll do it. They make it back to base and collapse on the floor. "Welcome back, Team Sharpshooter. Any trouble?" 3 confirmed kills outside of mission parameters. "Good work. Artificer and Shadow Monk, get some sleep. I'll man the cameras. Monama's taking care of Mission Hercules Mulligan, and I won't need Shadow Monk till tonight for backup," Rogue says. "Aye, aye, boss." Uraraka. Uraraka was very glad that Kirishima had given her something to do. She was going insane. She never had to sit out so long. But she guesses that's what happens when you suffer quirk exhaustion, when in the real world instead of school. She still doesn't have to like it. But still, drafting and putting out the job offer to the net had been a great distraction. She had to ask Cementos how much was a typical wage and get permission from Kirishima, but that out of the way, her and Froppy went about interviewing candidates. The first boy hadn't had any experience and was questionable in his reliability. The second girl hadn't even shown up. The third said that the hours were too long. The fourth had immediately acted like he was better than them. They didn't like that. But the fifth was promising. They knew her work ethic, and they didn't have to worry about her not understanding the industry. Plus, she has the perfect personality for a receptionist, friendly and helpful and approachable. And she is trustworthy. They spend a few minutes on the interview, but at this point, it's more of a formality. Kirishima had given them permission to hire the best candidate. So that's what they're going to do. At the end of the interview, they stand and shake hands with the newest addition to their hero agency. "Welcome aboard, Nejiri." All right, listeners, this concludes Chapter 26 of Call Our Crimes a Work of Art. Chapter 27 will be up next. In the description of this video, as well as any of the continuing chapters going forward, I have the list of code names and who their aliases are for each of the members of the villain team. That way you all are aware of who they are, just in case you want to reference that at any point. And I'm eager to hear your thoughts and reactions to everything you've seen so far with this one. As always, thank you so much for listening.